Hey, I'm Eric Rokich, and I am here today with Mr. Dustin Maher. And Dustin is only 28 years old, and he's literally crushing it in the fitness industry, and he's not doing too bad himself in business. And I'm here today because this guy has got a publishing deal, and he's released the book Fit Moms for Life. And I wanted to drill down, and I want to find out what this book is all about. And there it is, as you can see. I want to know who the book is for and what it's going to do to help you. So, Dustin, man, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, so who the book is for, I guess we can start with.
Sure.
And of course, it's for moms, Fit Moms for Life, pretty obvious, but it goes way beyond that. We have a lot of husbands and guys that read the book too, because the principles are universal. The principles that I use and probably you use too to stay in shape. And then also from, if trainers are out there watching this, it's a great resource for them too, to really see how, I communicate the message of fitness and kind of my strategies that I use because, for the most part, us trainers, I think we have very similar philosophies when it comes to fitness and, fat loss, but it's how to communicate that message. And I've been fortunate enough to work with well over 5,000 moms. And I think that that's one of the things I've done pretty well is speaking their language and to really make it simple because moms, not that they're dumb, but they're so busy that they need the specifics, but make it simple enough that they can follow.
So you work with 5,000 moms. How did you end up coming about working with 5,000 moms, to kind of put yourself or position yourself as that expert?
Right. I mean, it just kind of one thing led to the next. I didn't, necessarily start off. I knew when I was in college, I studied kinesiology, exercise science from Madison, Wisconsin, and I knew that I was going to be a one-on-one personal trainer. I knew that's what I want to start with, but I wanted to make more of a difference than just helping 5 to 10 people's lives per day. Which for trainers out there, that's awesome. Like we are changing lives, so don't think that I'm trying to minimize that. But I really wanted to help more people, and I knew the whole personal training model was flawed because not everyone can afford a trainer 5 days a week, and I knew I could only generate so much income, and I could only help so many people per day. So I started with a class called Mama Tone Fitness, which was for stay-at-home moms. I provide free childcare for them, basically like a boot camp program. And that thing just exploded. And so moms who were working full-time were wanting an option for them. So I started early morning workouts, and I wanted to make them co-ed because I wanted guys to be able to come. So Fit Fun Boot Camps was created, and we grew that within like 2 or 3 years to 11 locations all around Madison area. And then during that time, I was getting emails from all over the country and even the world wondering, how I was getting so good results with my clients. So I didn't really, and they wanted me to write down workout programs. I didn't really want to spend that much time on my computer writing down individual programs. So what I did was I started to create these DVDs and the Fit Moms for Life DVDs. I've got Baby Tone, which is using your baby as dumbbells, Buns, Guns, Back and Shoulders, which are just short, like 8 to 10 minute workouts. Got Core, just is mostly workouts on the ball, and Ultimate Buddy Boot Camp is for partner workouts, more similar to what we do in boot camp classes. So that's kind of how it's just out of necessity. And then everyone's like, you got to write a book, and I never really thought of myself as an author. I hated writing in high school, and it was like my hardest subject, and I tried to improve it as I've gone along, and then I started my blog about 3 years ago, and I really enjoyed that. Like it was really easy for me to write, 500 to 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
But putting together the book is definitely a big challenge. But it's been very rewarding, and I'm super excited with the final product.
What gave you the idea to write the book? I mean, you've helped all these moms, and we're talking new moms, moms who've been working all over. Where was the idea? Where'd that come from to write the book?
Well, I've been so transformed by books myself. I'm a huge reader, like I'm sure you are. I try to read a book a week at least.
Okay.
And so books have played an important role in my life and my development and my growth. And so I thought it'd be cool to be able to do that. And that was the biggest reason. I've been so transformed by it, and so I knew that if I could write a good book that inspired, motivated, and educated moms, I could, reach a much broader market than maybe who would get my DVDs or go to my boot camp classes.
Okay, now this book is going to help a lot of moms. How's it going to be able to help the fitness professionals who work with moms?
Sure. So a couple of big reasons. One, you can see my system of how I, structure the workouts, the strength training, the burst training, my nutrition program. There's probably going to be some differences between yours and my philosophies a little bit, but again, it's the way I communicate it And then the way that, even on my website, the way I showcase different stories. I think storytelling is a very big thing that I'm working on in my personal life to try to, tell better stories. And so there's a lot of stories in this book, which I know we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And just make it relatable. Speak, don't speak fancy jargon. Don't try to impress them with big words. Just try to speak as simple as you can and as straightforward as you can.
Okay, I want to dive into that book part a little bit more. Because there's a bunch of books out there supposedly, going to help moms and all that stuff. And you touched on a few of the things before about what it is that makes yours different. But can you break down exactly what it is that really makes your book different?
So I start off with my 5 pillars of fitness, which I believe are the 5 key components to being a fit mom for life and not just a fit mom for a week or for a month. And the 5 are mindset. Of course, you have to have the right mindset. The environment, you got to create an environment around you that's going to support your new healthy habits. Of course, the nutrition aspect, you got to eat the right foods, incorporating strength training, and then incorporating burst training. Those are the 5 components. And then from there, I think that alone would be a great book. It's a great how-to book, but I wanted to make it more motivational, inspirational, more relatable. And so I poured through probably a couple hundred of my, transformations that I've received in before and after pictures, and I picked 31 stories that I thought really had the range from a young mom to a grandma, 55-year-old. Some had no kids, so they weren't moms. Some had 5 kids, and they all had a really interesting story to tell. Some had to lose 20 pounds to get ready, look amazing in bikini. Some wanted to go from a size 18 to a size 4. Some lost over 100 pounds. So we got a really wide range so that everyone can relate to a couple stories.
Okay, so it was more to be able to relate to any of the moms who are reading. It's not like just a straight mom looking great in a bikini. It could be like the, busy work mom, like all different stories, so that helps people relate to the book, right?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Give me an example of a story or one of those people that are in the book that's very inspirational.
Sure. So one of the stories I could use them all, but Sarah, and she was, she came to me, actually I came to her. She's a very prominent, I'm not going to say what she does, but she's very prominent in the media in Madison, kind of a celebrity, I guess you could say. And she was struggling to get the baby weight off after her second kid. And she had lost like a couple of pounds, but she had about 25 more pounds that she wanted to lose. And she had been doing a lot of cardio. And so I switched her over to a strength training plan. And over the course of about a year and a half, she dropped, I think it was like 30 pounds, and she was down to like 110 pounds at 5'3". She's smaller than she ever has been, even before kids. She has a 6-pack. She's a faster runner than she ever has. But during this time, she got diagnosed with seizures, and she was having seizures, like really bad ones. She found out about some infidelity in her her husband, and they got divorced. And so like all this stuff is going on, and she was still able to make the time to be consistent and to take care of herself, be an example for her kids. And now she, looks and feels amazing. She's still dealing, of course, with a family life, and also her seizures are still going on. But she said, if she didn't have this exercise program, she doesn't know where she would be today.
Wow. So that's just one of the stories of all the other stories.
One of them, yep.
Okay. Now you have these 5 pillars you talked about: mindset, nutrition, strength, burst training, and environment, I believe. I just want to briefly dive into each one of them, kind of so people get an idea of what the steps are in the book. So just go into a little bit about the mindset.
Sure. So I tell people you've got to figure out your big why. And your big why is not going to be, I've got a trip to Hawaii in 3 months I need to get ready for, or I've got to fit into this dress, or I've got a 10-year, 20-year reunion, high school reunion. Those are small whys, and they're good for short term. But, once that event is over with, most people just go back to their old lifestyle. So a big why, for example, here's a good big why. Michelle, someone who I've worked with for a few years, and I started with her about 2.5 years ago. She was pregnant. No, she wasn't pregnant yet. She got pregnant a couple months after starting my program with her 3rd kid. And after about 4 or 5 months of being pregnant, for whatever reason, she wasn't able to continue with the program. And I didn't hear from her for about 8 or 9 months. And then I get an email one day. She says, "Hey, Dustin, I just want to let you know I had my 3rd child a couple months ago, but I don't know if you heard this or not, but New Year's Eve night, my husband was killed in a car accident." It was just him alone. He got killed, and she was a couple months, ready from giving birth. And she, here she is now, single mom with 3 kids under the age of 5. And she's like, I'm the only thing that my kids have, my three daughters have, and I've got to take care of myself. She's like, I'll do whatever it takes. She works a full-time job. She's like, I will be consistent. And so that's been about a year now, maybe 18, I don't know, somewhere around a year. She's lost over 60 pounds. She's smaller now than she was in college or probably even high school. And I'm sure her husband's very proud of her looking down. She's such a great example. She's so consistent now with her exercise and her eating, and she, looks and feels amazing. So that's a good example of a big why, and hopefully you don't need a death in the family to do that.
Right. Right. Now let's dive into the other another one of the pillars, the nutrition side of things.
Yeah. So nutrition, my overall philosophy is, I think Michael Pollard said this, but I don't recommend a low carb, a low fat, low calorie diet. Just recommend a low crap diet. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and people are really misinformed. But common sense can still get you about 80% of the results. And so it's figuring out how to make people do what they already know what they should do. And I think that really is important on how to break it down simply. Don't make it too complicated. I do recommend doing food journaling. I do think counting calories, at least at the beginning, to kind of get a handle of where you're at is important. But if you make things so complicated, most busy moms just won't, follow through or at least keep it up long term.
Okay, the environment side.
This is the one that I get the most excited about, I think, because what I'm creating with the Fit Moms for Life, my mission is to help 1 million moms by the end of 2015 get into the best shape of their lives. And one of the programs, which I think is going to be the biggest thing that you guys watching, maybe in a year from now, are going to really hear about, are these Fit Moms for Life community groups. I've looked at all the programs around the country, the big names, the smaller names, and I think the biggest thing that's missing, like P90X, for example, they could do an incredibly better job, in my opinion, if they could create some sort of better community groups where people get together doing the workouts, doing the DVDs, kind of like a Weight Watchers is a little bit more formalized. And that's what we've created. We've got, well over a dozen of these started around the country where moms do my DVDs. They get together. We've kind of got a program set up for them, and we're continually developing it so that they can become leaders in their own communities. And once you can create that support group around you and have that environment that encourages you, that builds you up, that doesn't let you get off easy, which we're good at doing that with our friends. We're like, oh, it's okay, you gained 5 pounds over the holidays. That's expected, we kind of justify it. And if we can, be lovingly, harsh on them, I guess you could say, that's where the power comes. And then once you can then teach others, like, if a mom's reading this book, she, and maybe goes to my website, or trainers out there, hopefully a trainer has already studied this quite a bit, but they have enough information and knowledge here to basically teach anybody else how to get in shape. You don't need a PhD to do this. And that's what I'm trying to empower moms to do is you've got enough information now to not only start your journey, but then get a couple other people on board with it. And then once they start to learn what they're doing, they're not going to want to go back to their old self, because we're good at letting ourselves down, but we're not good at letting other people down. And so that's kind of what I'm excited about with the environment and changing that.
Very cool. Now,
I give some more specific strategies on how to exactly change the environment.
Gotcha. All right. Now the last two, strength training and burst training. Just explain what those are and the differences.
Yeah, total body resistance training I think is key. 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes, hitting large muscle groups, little break periods. That's kind of my philosophy. Using dumbbells primarily. One other knock I have on P90X, which I believe I love P90X. I think it's a great program. But the one complaint I get a lot is that it's 60 to 90 minutes a day. Tremendous, time commitment.
Yep.
So I try to, create these workouts that are between 10 minutes and 30 minutes. And if they want to do an hour, I've certainly got workouts that they can, double up on. So it, just more intense but shorter duration. And then burst training is where you go from like 10 seconds up to 60 seconds of intense exercise, followed by like 1 to 2 minutes of recovery. And you can do that 5 to 10 times. And that's been shown to totally crush standard cardio, whether that's marathon training, doing 10Ks or on the elliptical for 30 minutes.
And in your opinion, of these 5 pillars that you have, is there any one of those 5 that's maybe more important than all the rest?
I get this question a lot, and I think about it a lot, and you could argue, I think a lot of, any one of them is the most important one, but I think if you took any one of them out, you would fail. And I think that's why people are not succeeding, long term. I mean, you could take a few of them out and get short term results, but to get that long lasting, you could have really bad attitude, have bad mindset, and be able to do anything for a couple weeks or a few months. But to have that lasting change, you need the mindset. Same thing with the environment. If you're just doing it alone, no support around you, you can, sheer willpower can get you so far, and you can get some results. But long term, nutrition is, arguably could be the most important, because if you're not eating healthy, it kind of all ties in.
Okay, now for most of the trainers out there, their clients predominantly are women. Is this book going to be able to help the guy trainers or the fellas out there understand moms and women a little bit better?
Yeah, I think, from a trainer standpoint, this probably is the best part of the book. Okay. Is just look at the language I use, and, obviously you never want to, say we're going to get pumped up today, or we're going to get a six pack, or you're going to get bulging muscles, things like that are words that, women never want to hear. And so just, don't use those words. And so, yeah, just kind of see my conversational style that I use, and the certain phrases and words, and how the stories all tie into one another.
Okay, so the language is probably the key part for those guys to make sure to see how they're talking to the women and the moms.
And it's funny because I get, I've worked with probably 3,000 clients just in Madison, and so I've had clients who have had other trainers all over the area, and I always hear funny stories. And one of the biggest complaints that I get is, they've had some big dude in the gym, a trainer, and he talked to them like he talked to his football buddies, and it's a turnoff to them.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of books out there, tons of theory, all these kinds of things. Your book's a little bit different. We already talked about it. It covers the stories. Okay, You've got the 5 pillars. But one of the key elements to any book is, especially when it comes to fitness for anybody, is people like to see exercises, pictures, all of those sorts of things. Is that included in this book?
Yeah, we've got, I think, 150 or so pictures, and so about 60 of those pictures are those before and afters.
Okay.
And then every exercise I have, every stretch, every warm up, all has pictures. So you could totally get it from there. And then also the DVDs that I have correspond to the workouts in the book.
Okay, cool. Anything else that you want to add about the book that you think wasn't covered here yet?
I mean, this is going to get posted pretty soon, I think. So, we're encouraging people to pick it up for Christmas gifts. It makes a great Christmas gift. And just to, create, if it's a mom out there or even a trainer, buying 5 or 10 copies of the book, and then creating some sort of book club or support group that each week, you go over a chapter and really dive deep into it. Because, the information in the book, when applied, is very powerful. And I'm just super excited. It's been 1 week now since we released it, and I've been traveling around and doing a lot of radio, and leaving today for Philadelphia. So I'm excited just to kind of continue to get it out there. And once it gets in people's hands, I'm hoping then that'll really continue to spread.
Okay, for the trainers out there who are watching and listening to this, if you're interested in picking up the book, Dustin's actually got a cool gift for you if you pick up 10 copies. So Dustin, tell everybody what that is.
Yeah, so some of you guys may have already heard about this. About a year ago or a year and a half ago, I came out with Fitness Media Dominator. One of the things I've been very blessed with is to get a lot of TV, radio, newspaper coverage all for free. In fact, I actually tried to estimate how much coverage I have gotten in a dollar amount if I had to buy that coverage, and it was about $450,000. So I've done about 100 TV shows, probably well over 100 radio shows, and lots of newspaper, magazine. And so I've kind of figured out over the last 4 years how to do it. And so I created a coaching program, a step-by-step, what press releases to send out, how to create your list, how to follow up. Once you get on the show, how can you make the show the best you can? And then how do you follow up after the show to get back on to become a regular guest? Everything's broken down. It's like 10 or 20 hours of video content. We sold it for $497. It did awesome. And so I'm giving that to you guys for absolutely free if you order 10 copies. And when you do order 10 copies, I'm already paying your shipping for you, and I'm selling the book for about 40% off retail. I just want the book to get into people's hands. I'm not really making much money off of it at all. But the more we can spread this message, the better.
Right. And one of the cool things, too, that I know about is the publisher that you have this done through is I believe they donate 1% of their sales back to Habitat to Humanity. So that's a real cool thing. That's a big charity thing that I believe in. So anybody who picks up a book, 1% of the sales will go back to helping out Habitat for Humanity.
Yep.
Okay. So, Dustin, where can they go pick up a copy of this book?
Sure. Fitmomsforlife.com. That's FitMoms, FORlife.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want to check out my website as well, DustinMaherFitness.com, DustinMaher Fitness.com. And if you want to sign up for my free newsletter, I've got that there. If you're interested in the different DVD programs, that's also there.
All right, very cool. Dustin, thank you so much in kind of breaking
Thanks,
down
Eric.
the details, for coming in and doing all this. Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.